Good morning, everyone. My name is Advocacy, and I'm from here. I'm from RWANDA, and I'll be leading the following session. It's a speaker session, and we will hear from concrete examples of social media. Two speakers whom I'm going to introduce. The first speaker is called Emily Edeti. Emily is a vibrant social entrepreneur and youth advocate with over 5 years of experience in identifying community development issues, leading initiatives and creating community engagement around malaria, sexual reproductive health and rights, gender-based violence, menstrual health and hygiene and girls' education. Currently, Emily is the co-team lead and resource mobilization and partnerships lead at Malaria Youth Army in Kenya. And she will be taking us through the Malaria Day campaign, Malaria Day social media campaign, carried out by the Malaria Youth Army in Kenya. And our second speaker, who will come right after Emily, is Jenny Juki, and she is a passionate Cracker youth advocate and development practitioner who loves young people, who is very passionate about young people and their ingenuity and creativity. And she's currently the African Program Management Manager at Malaria No More UK. So, Emily, the floor is yours, and Jenny, you will follow right after. Thank you so much. Enjoy.
Thank you so much, Maggie, for the introduction. And I'd also like to thank our first presenter and speaker for introducing Advocacy. As she has said, my name is Emily Edeti. I co-lead the Kenya Malaria Youth Army, and based on today's topic, I'm just here to share our success story from the social media campaign that we conducted. Yes, so this is us. This is our slogan. This is what we represent as a young generation. We are that generation that can end malaria. We believe that as young people, we possess the energy, the synergy, the creativity, the innovative minds that is required to bring about solutions that can end malaria and even other diseases in our continent and respective countries at large. Now, as she talked about advocacy, now you will realize that digital advocacy has brought a twist and has kind of transformed how modern of social, and this is why I am here today. And what we did as Kenya Malaria Youth Army, we had a goal, an objective in mind. And we were very clear about what we wanted for our campaign. And one of that was to synergize young people. We wanted to bring as many young people on board to join the fight against malaria as possibly as we could. And we did that through several initiatives, several creative activities, as you will see as we continue. This is just part of what we did. So our implementation, when we started thinking about this campaign, number one objective, as I mentioned, we wanted more people. Secondly, we wanted to create as much awareness about malaria as we could. Thirdly, we also wanted to prompt our leaders at local and even national levels, as well as stakeholders and key partners in the fight against malaria. So what we did is we started by partnering with key stakeholders in the malaria space. And as the presenters before me mentioned, advocacy cannot be done alone. We understand we were a bigger team, but then we needed the power of collaboration, the power that comes with partnerships of different stakeholders that have different knowledge and also different resources to enable us actually actualize what we were trying to achieve. Another thing was the strategic use of social media platforms. In this regard, what we did is we identified the specific platforms that we needed to use for our campaign. And these were, amongst them were platforms that we had already used prior to the campaign to engage. We had created a rapport with our audiences in those platforms. One of them was Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. For Facebook, we used it because it helps you detail the agenda, the mission of your campaign. You can tell it in as much length as possible. Twitter as well. We also leveraged on influencer engagements. We brought influencers on board in order to enhance and widen our online audience for the campaign. We also looked at podcasts where the members of the Kenya Malaria Youth Army gave out their opinions in audio versions, and we populated that in our platform as well. And of course, creative and youthful content like this, the opinions of the young people in the community and also in the army, is among the things that we used. Now, this is why our campaign became successful and also what we picked out of it. So, the members of the army actively engaged because we had prepared them prior to that to involve even other youth from other organizations to be part of this. Another thing is we came up with a hashtag, a specific hashtag that we all needed to use. And like for Twitter, you know, if you have more than 1,000 or 2,000 mentions, you trend. So we are right here. This is our hashtag. We trended in Kenya that day, World Malaria Day. And for us, it was big. It was an achievement. We also had so many other youth organizations come on board to engage with us, as well as malaria partner organizations. We also received so much feedback positively from our government leaders, that is through the Ministry of Health, the Division of National Malaria Control, and other key stakeholders in this fight against malaria. And that only meant for us that our next activity had already gained momentum, and we would definitely be able to, you know, secure the necessary support that we would need for that. Yes, so these are the lessons. I'll just run through them that we learned. When you are using social media, please understand your campaign first. Make sure you have the objective and expected outcomes clearly stated out. Understand your target audience. Our target is clearly the young people and our leaders, and we tailored our campaign to meet the expectations of that particular target group. Also, ensure that you have a strategy, have a calendar, and have the kit, the social media toolkit that will guide you through running this. Now, consistency in social media advocacy is very important. You don't want to start something, raise momentum, and then just zero down to absolutely nothing. So consistency. We started 2 weeks before World Malaria Day to engage with our audiences. By the time we were at Malaria Day, we were already there. Also ensure that your content is simple and specific to understand. Then you can also leverage on important international celebrations, because those are days that people are excited to celebrate. And if you have a campaign going on in such days, it's definitely going to be a success. So for us, we saw it that social media is such a low-hanging fruit for advocacy if used effectively. Thank you so much.
Good morning. How's everyone doing? Good. Great. So my name's Jenny Juki, and I'll just be taking you through the next session. How many of you have heard about the RBM campaign, Draw the Line Against Malaria? Okay. Good. So don't worry, I'm here to share about it. So I'll talk about the Zero Malaria Starts With Me, Draw the Line campaign and where that came from. So if you could go to the next slide. Or maybe let's just start here. How many of you have heard about, that every minute a child dies from malaria. And this is just to bring context into why we're talking about malaria, why the campaigns are about malaria, and how can we really amplify in terms of social media. So every minute a child dies from malaria. That's every 60 seconds. Right now, the minutes that we've passed here, you could count how many children have died. And moving to the next slide. For example, we say 96% of Africa, 96% of the malaria cases come from Africa. And just still building up context, and I will explain why I'm doing this. I wish I had a mark. I am doing this, and you will see it pretty much also drawing from the speakers that have spoken before me. And just going, it is humankind's oldest and deadliest disease. And to the story, the Zero Malaria Starts With Me story. So Zero Malaria Starts With Me campaign started in 2014 in Senegal. It grew from one country, just one country, Senegal, and went to Africa. So this is my Africa, I'm sorry. But went to Africa, and that was in 2018 when it was endorsed at the AU. And right now, it's probably over, within over 20 countries right now in terms of the Zero Malaria Starts With Me campaign. And out of the Zero Malaria Starts With Me campaign, that is where Draw the Line Against Malaria was birthed for young people to run with and own. And so I'll go directly to my next slide and just talk about Zero Malaria Draw the Line Against campaign. So I'll let you just sit and watch the next film and then quickly jump in to the session. Is the sound on? Sorry about that. As we get that sorted out, give a bit of context to my discussion today in terms of when you're thinking about, and pretty much drawing from what was shared earlier by and by Vicky, when you're thinking about social media campaign, you're thinking pretty much about what? You're thinking about who, you're thinking about when, why, and where, and then you're thinking about how. So if there are 6 things that you would leave out with this room is, if you're thinking about a campaign on social media, you really need to know who's your target audience, and just going back to what, successful moments shared by Emily. For the Kenya Youth Army, it was the youth and the leaders, right? And then going quickly to the when will this take place? Yours was during World Malaria Day, and you guys were trending. And then, why are we doing this? We've just looked at every minute. Sorry about the sound, guys. Every minute we're having a child die. We've talked about who's at risk. We've talked about the 96%. We've brought that reason for urgency. And then you talk about the where, and then your how is your strategy. So hopefully we'll get the sound going on in a bit. But as we're doing that, All right, no worry. So, but yeah, if you do get a chat, okay. Well, it has no sound, but you can watch it. That's okay.
It's time to take our future back.
Nandito pa online. Online. Online.
Malaria, we're coming for you. Dr. Elliot, keep on running at them.
But what was that?
Hey guys, we gotta keep going. Keep the pressure on.
Take the middle on attack.
There's no appetite.
But it is go.
We've got new.
Malaria, we see you. We know your game. Taking control. Who's boss now? Malaria, you're not your match.
They can never teach us.
On the defense, pressure coming in from all sides. The world is uniting with new battlefields. Zero malaria is our goal, but how do we do that?
Great. So I think with that, I'll just ask you one question as we move into the next session. What stood out for you in that, when you just watched this campaign, what stood out? What stood out for you? Anyone? popcorn style.
I'm obviously excited to be here today.
Right.
He had a personal experience with malaria. It was super rough.
You wanna try?
Just the energy.
Appreciate
The energy, okay. Anybody else? What stood out for you? From the previous speakers in terms of like bringing together the nuggets, what we've learned in terms of who you need to, who's your audience, what are we talking about? What, what was the strategy, which is the how. So out of that, what could you relate with out of the previous speakers that have to just share? Brilliant.
The previous speaker was just talking about power mapping,
Power
using
mapping,
influencers.
using influencers. Did you see any that you could
Yeah,
relate to?
I did.
Brilliant, amazing.
Celebrities as well.
Celebrities, love it. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so what stood out for me is the branding. Even if I'm in a bus going to, I'm in a random country in a bus and I see that video without the sound,
Yeah.
I can attribute it to the campaign.
Right.
It's very consistent.
Exactly. I want to agree with you guys. So just to wrap it up, because we have to wrap up this particular session, is that this particular the Zero Malaria Start with Draw the Line campaign calls out to the global leaders, calls out to the public to really take action to prioritize malaria. And we have used this visual ad, which we call the Muwundo ad, which is, pretty much the ad that, as you can see, has the mosquito, the pregnant woman. So it is the art that represents the malaria language. Can you see my headband?
Yes, I
You
do.
guys like it? But yeah, so with that call to action, you also have an opportunity to draw the line because it will be presented to leaders during this Kigali summit. We will be handing over, and you have a chance as an advocate to actually be a part of this campaign and draw the line against malaria. Thank you so much. And thanks
And so you can utilize the social media for advocacy skills to amplify this campaign.
All right, guys, how are you? My name is Phil, and I'm coming here with Joy. So, unfortunately, we have to split into groups because we're going to have what we're calling the idea lab. So we're going to get into groups because we have numbers, but it will be very chaotic to move around the room. So people in that group, that's one group there. And then you form a group, they form another, then they another, then we have like 6. That group and this group, we're going to give you tasks, right? Who have got the questions are free to use the cues that we have, right? Or they can design something of their own. Okay, then we're just going to give you 5 minutes because leaders think it's fast. 5 minutes, then in 1 minute you choose a representative who's going to come and deliver what you have designed. So you write on the flip chart. So you come up with a cool group name. That's the first task. Then you design the social media campaign. We want to see the creativity. Then you design your campaign. Then Joy is telling you the other things that you need to come up with.
Thank you, Phil, and hi everyone. Bonjour. Habari zenyu. Swahili speakers in the house. So I want to say thank you again for joining our forum. And I want to add on to one of the responsibilities that you will take in your groups. And somebody very quickly, what's the theme of the Commonwealth Youth Forum? Taking charge of your future. And one of the ways, how do you take charge of your future? How do you think you can take charge of your future? As a young person?
By taking action.
By taking action. And one of the other things you can do as a young person is make a commitment. So you look around your community and you find out that there is a specific issue that you feel as a young person needs to be addressed. In our case, all the speakers you have seen here are very related to the cause of malaria because it's something that eliminates majority of people, affects our mothers, affects our children. So we're very committed to the cause of malaria. So one of the things that we feel is very important for each one of you today is to sit back and think about this one thing in your community you want to solve. We want you to leave the Commonwealth Youth Forum, going back to your countries and say, I went to Rwanda, I learned about social media advocacy and I made a decision that I'm going to solve this particular issue in the community. So one of the things that we want you to do in your groups is you will come up with a social media campaign, but also in your groups you will come up with a commitment. So you're going to think about a commitment that you make in an individual capacity. So two things, a social media campaign based on these three scenarios that Phil has presented, and number two, a commitment. So your commitment statement is going to read, for example, I commit to fighting malaria in Ghana. I commit to fighting neglected tropical diseases in Rwanda. So think about a commitment that you feel you're confident about and you'll be able to follow up on it once you go back to your home countries. Thank you.
So the groups, this will do scenario 1, scenario 2, freelancers. Okay, can we get quickly into the groups because we don't have much time? Huh? They're just going to design something. Yeah, just design something. So we're giving you flip charts. Can we quickly get into groups and start working on that?
Excuse me. Please, can you mention your group again? Yes.
This is one, for those that have the paper, that I gave you the paper, so we're counting from here. This is 1, 2, scenario 3. You're doing scenario 1, scenario 2, scenario 3. Then the other groups, they're just designing something from scratch. Okay, any questions? Tuko pamoja. All right.